Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our NASCAR Heat 5 Next Gen Mod Career Mode here on the channel. This 2022 season continues on into Atlanta for the second time this season. Old Atlanta, but at times it kind of drives like the new Atlanta. We had a brand new winner in the last episode with Chris Buescher taking the victory in Road America, making things a little bit more difficult on us in the playoff situation. 16 points below the cut line coming into today's episode as we continue to see new winners. Austin Dillon still out of the car. Today we see Sheldon Creed actually hopping in that 3 car, so you're going to see some rookie stripes on that car. Dillon is either going to be back next episode or the episode after from his injury, so not as long as Reddix and RCR hopes to have a healthy lineup for the rest of the season. I didn't bother doing practice for this episode because we already did practice in Atlanta earlier in the season, so we're jumping straight through into qualifying. Now before we kick off our lap, big announcement coming here in the pre-show. So there's going to be a spokesperson for the Andretti racing team that is going to announce their first race date for that team this season. As you guys know, they're doing 5 select races this season. They might announce their driver as well in the pre-show. We're not actually sure yet on that, but we'll wait and see as we come through turn 3 and 4 here on our qualifying attempt. A goal of a 29.789 here in this brisk Toyota Camry out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. We're going to cross the line. It's going to be way off the goal. It's probably dead last, just like earlier in the season. Yes, it is. 40th place in this Folds of Honor 500 from Atlanta. So some work to be done, obviously, here, but I'm up for the challenge. We definitely had more race pace in Atlanta earlier in the season compared to qualifying, so I'm not too concerned. Our teammate Bubba Wallace in 18th place, checking out the top 10 there. Pole is going to go to Kyle Larson with Martin Truex Jr. joining him on the front row. Let's get ready to go racing here from Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Dale Jr., and Steve Letarte covering the action for you here today. Guys, we have a special guest for today's pre-race, and that's a spokesperson for the Andretti NASCAR project. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
So we hear that you have some news to share on Andretti Autosport's first NASCAR race?
Yes, I do. I'm happy to announce that we will debut at a track our family has a lot of history at. Indianapolis will be our first race in a few weeks' time.
Can you tell us who's in the car yet?
A race car driver, I can tell you that much. We'll share more next week.
Let's head down to pit road where the drivers and teams are getting ready to start their engines for today's race.
Alright then, ready to go racing here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. You heard the news, Andretti will be making their debut going into Indianapolis here very shortly. It's going to be interesting to see who they put in the car. They seem to be keeping that a secret. I'm not quite sure which way they're going to go. Will they bring in one of their drivers from IndyCar? I don't really know, but we'll have to wait and see as we are ready to go racing here. And now some team audio before the race. Alright boys, this track was rough for us earlier in the year. Let's hope for a better one today.
That, and let's hope for no new winner.
You hear that? Just hoping for no new winners. Only 4 drivers can make it into the playoffs on points, which is not helping our situation by any means, as we're ready to go racing here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And of course, with this new next-gen NASCAR Cup Series car coming into the series for this 2022 season, well, obviously, just like real life, we're seeing a lot of, diversity in winners compared to what we've seen in seasons past. So it is very realistic to see potentially 16 different winners this season, which is going to make it very hard because in the car that we're in, it's going to be difficult to win a race. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. We still have quite a bit of time until the playoffs, and that's where the concern kicks in when there's only 4 spots that is possible to get on points. Imagine if Garrett Smithley currently was in the top 30 in the standings. There would only be 3 spots left. Cole Custer, as well as surprise winner this season from Talladega. Justin Haley, he won this race earlier this season, the first Atlanta race, so he's in the playoffs. Now him and Custer should be able to remain in the top 30 in the points without really any issue, so they are going to be able to hold on to their playoff positions. Custer is the one that's more at risk, but as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, he will advance into the playoffs there with that victory. So you can see myself early on in this race, so moving my way forward now, as we still could find ourselves in a points race for this playoff situation, depending on how these stages shape up and these overall, of course, finishes. We'll have to wait and see. Kevin Harvick now getting past me. He's actually the most comfortable driver right now in the playoff bubble area on points, but obviously one rough race, two rough races could change everything for him. Now, as you can see myself fighting back on the track, map pole winner Kyle Larson actually lost the lead on the start, but he would take it back here on the 5th lap and now was kind of taking control of this race. Larson and that number 5 team, they've seemed to have found a bit more speed lately here. They had a rough finish in Road America. I think they were, what, dead last or second to last, if I'm not mistaken, after some things went wrong on that final restart after a wild race here as I'm trying to push my teammate at Bubba Wallace, but smoke pouring out of a car in front of us. We're going to dive down to the inside. It's the 99 of Daniel Suarez, another issue for the Trackhouse driver. He's been plagued with issues for the last about month of racing, 4 to 5 races or so. There's just been problem after problem for Daniel Suarez. Nothing going right there, and for the second time this season, Suarez has a major issue on track and no caution gets called. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the other one might have been Richmond, where he had an issue and they didn't call a caution. I'm probably way off on that, but you can see we would all get back going, and we were running P19. Austin Cindric passing both myself and Bubba Wallace. I passed Bubba, who was really struggling on pace again in that McDonald's number 23 car here, as we were running down Kurt Busch next here for 18th place. So obviously, Daniel Suarez's issues helps me gain a few extra positions. For him, not good. He's in the bubble area right now trying to make the playoffs, and he is not going to make the playoffs with the issues he's been having, and they are not any fault of his own here now. His pit stops are actually going to kick off as I'm going to go for a big slide trying to follow Eric Almirola right into the back of him there as I slammed into him, which helps me get down to pace speed, but I didn't have any control over my car in that moment there. 4 tires. We had to spend an extra couple of seconds in the pits repairing damage. You can see we lose the time because of that to that number 10 Smithfield Ford Mustang. But by the time everything was cycling through, we actually end up gaining some time with the undercut, passing the 31, the 24, the 9. There's the 2 of Cindric, who also appears to gain some time here. He would pass me, or stay ahead of me, but Chase Elliott's going to come back and pass me back here up the inside. So you can see we're definitely struggling for pace here today, you know, especially early in the run. I was noticing here goes William Byron and now Chase Briscoe 10 laps ago on the stage. At this point, Kyle Larson had lost the lead to the number 19 Bass Pro Shops driver Martin Truex Jr. here in his final season of the NASCAR Cup Series, yet to win a race. So he's in that bubble area just like we are right now. Truex has had a lot of speed this season. Knock on wood, if you're Martin Truex Jr., every time I feel like this season he's been in contention in the top 3, you know, fighting for the lead, fighting for the win, something goes wrong, either a tire failure or a mechanical failure. So knock on wood, if you're a Martin Truex Jr. fan, you're hoping that nothing goes wrong today, because here he is again in that position to maybe fight for a win. Early on, though, in the race here, now as you can see us fighting with Haley and Austin Dillon, continuing to fade backwards. That just didn't have a whole lot of pace. At this point here in the stage here, Kyle Larson takes the lead back actually from that 19 of Truex as he tries to retake the control of this race. I said I was fighting with Austin Dillon. I'm so used to saying that now. Sheldon Creed we were fighting with. He passed me and drove away. The 3 of Sheldon Creed moving his way into the mid-teens here at the final lap of the stage. Truex actually got the lead back from Kyle Larson. Won stage 1. We're going to hold off Kevin Harvick for P18, which not a great effort here in stage number 2, or stage number 1, sorry. But I'm thinking back to Atlanta earlier in the season. We didn't even finish in the top 20, so honestly, I wasn't too disappointed running P18 right now, and I think we have some decent long run speed, so if we can get a nice long run just like we had right here, green flag from start to finish in stage 1, I'll be pretty happy with what we have in stage 2. Just crucial to not make a big mistake coming into the pit lane there, but we're going to pit for 4 tires, fill it up on fuel, not a single adjustment there, so Stevie Speed doesn't have to come over the radio and tell us about any adjustments there getting ready for stage 2. But overall, I think we got some, like I said, decent long run pace. It's just about will we get those long runs now. Stage 1 we did, but will that happen throughout the rest of the race. We're back underway. You see the rookie stripes on the back of that 3. It's Sheldon Creed in that car, replacing, of course, the injured Austin Dillon. Shout out to Sanok throwing those rookie stripes on the car and putting Creed's name on the windshield banner. But Austin Dillon's name still over the name rail. He did the same thing for the Tyler Reddick car, which is really cool as well. So Creed, this could be his one and only race in the Cup Series. He's trying to impress. We saw his Xfinity Series teammate, which they've had a couple of off weeks now, just like Truex, but we saw Austin Hill drive the 8 car in place of Tyler Reddick for quite a few races. Did an okay job. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. It is RCR at the end of the day, but we saw Tyler Reddick excel in real life in 2022 for RCR. But we'll see. Creed, this might be his only opportunity. We'll have to wait until the next episode to really see what's going on there. Austin Dillon as well in the news. The injury was a lower body injury in his right leg. Was kind of vague, but that was the explanation that RCR has given to the public there. But nothing bad enough to keep him out of the car for a prolonged amount of time. Here you see me, though, in these early laps of Stage 2 struggling here. The 24, the 9 on my outside. Joey Logano now out in front of this race. Been so strong this season. Logano fighting with Christopher Bell for that regular season championship. Those two have been the class of the field when it comes to consistency. Bell, he only has 1 win. I only have 1 wall hit this race, and it was right there. So we bang the outside. Well, we're going to give up a position, maybe 2. Here goes Stenhausen following through. Justin Haley in that leaf filter number 31. Fortunately, we only give up those 2 spots, so we're right here still in the fight. And I was ready to get those elbows out here. 3 wide up the middle. Here we go on the inside of that 47 of Stenhouse, using him up just a little bit there, trying to avoid contact, of course, as we head down this backstretch towards turn 3. 23 laps in the stage, so still plenty of racing to go. Atlanta is a lengthy race. It's like 81 laps overall here, so we got plenty of time to make things happen, which I was okay with here. This next-gen mod, very hit or miss with these races. You never know if these races are going to get those long runs or you're going to get quite a few cautions. It's really hit or miss every single race. You just don't know what you're going to get, and I kind of love that. I really like the way this season has been turning out. It's been a lot of fun, and I didn't want to make Season 1 easy. You guys know that, and that's why I'm happy that we're in this bubble situation in this 4-star car. We have to fight hard to make the playoffs. Caution is going to come out here in Stage 2 as Logano Allmendinger having a great run in 2nd place right now. That is not what I want to see. But we're all going to come into the pits here for 4 tires again, fill it up on fuel. A slight grill tape adjustment, which is completely illegal, as I mention every time in this next-gen car. Sheldon Creed, Tyler Reddick, both RCR cars in the top 10. Replay of the crash. Kaz Gralla going around, blowing a tire. Big hit right there on the outside wall, and then takes the big hit from the 77 as well of Landon Castle. But yeah, he's going to be still maybe in the race. I'm not 100% sure. I do see a car in the pit lane there. A couple cars in the pit lane as we're going to get back underway. One of them actually is Kaz Gralla, so his day is over, and it looks like Timmy Hill might be the other one in that 66 Ford Mustang. But we're back underway here from 19th place behind that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet of Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott had a heck of a start to the season, got the win early on in Phoenix Raceway, and then he's kind of struggled quite a bit since. It kind of reminds me of Kyle Larson's season. We saw Kyle Larson start off hot, really struggle, fell down into the bubble area of the playoffs, and then he picked up that win in Sonoma. Now he is safe. Elliott hasn't seemed to turn things around yet. Alex Bowman, he's been kind of hit or miss all season long. William Byron's an interesting one. Just looking at Hendrick overall, William Byron, of course, class of that team this season. 3 wins. He's got more wins on his own than the rest of the team combined, with 2 currently. But Byron's also been kind of taking a bit of a chill pill lately here. Runs P17 here today in Atlanta. Not a great day, and we just haven't seen that same speed out of the 24 either. Which is another thing I really like about this next-gen mod is we're not seeing the same exact drivers run up front, dominate every race. Obviously, when we have, you know, what, 12 different winners? 13, counting Garrett Smithley actually as well from the Daytona 500. Martin Truex Jr. trying to make it 14 different winners today and put only 3 drivers in on points here now, as you can see me continuing to try and fight with this 24 and the 4 of Harvick and Byron Kozlowski right there on the outside, having an okay run here today. He's probably accepted the fact that he's got to win to get into the playoffs at this point here now as we cross the stripe with 4 laps to go side by side with that 6 Ford Mustang down into turn 1. Of course, RFK, since that rebrand to RFK from Roush Fenway Racing, they just picked up their first win last episode with Chris Buescher, who really stepped it up on the road course in Road America. And I talked about before, Buescher has really proven himself to be a heck of a road course racer, and he proved it in the last episode, picking up his second career win. Coming to the white flag in stage 2, there goes the right front tire, I think, of the 14 of Chase Briscoe, a bubble driver into the outside wall. The caution is going to fly, and that will end the stage about 3/4 of a lap early for the leader, which I believe was Martin Truex Jr. Wasn't paying full attention there to who was leading at that point in time. I was more or less trying to make sure I didn't run into the 14 of Briscoe there. That's going to be big. Will he remain in the race or not? We're going to pit for 4 tires and feel, and it looks like, yes, Truex wins the stage over Ross Chastain, Logano, Cindric, and Christopher Bell. We're going to get ready to go now for the 3rd and final stage.
All right, I know we are down on speed today. Bubba has been dealing with the same issue.
You briefly hear just kind of about the lack of speed there from our crew chief of Stevie's Speed. We're back underway for stage number 3. We might have some radio audio from Bubba Wallace and company a little bit later on here in stage number 3. Ross Chastain won the race out of the pit lane. He leads the way down into turn 1, 2 wins on the season for that number 1 Trackhouse car. Very big difference between him and Daniel Suarez right now. Suarez, of course, trying to fight for his life to get into the playoffs, but has had a lot of mechanical issues over the last handful of races, while Chastain, mechanical issue, pretty rare for that number 1 car as he leads the way down into turn 3, but it's not going to last long because Austin Cindric is actually going to slip up the inside, and he's going to be able to take the lead away from him as we cross the stripe. So running P14, pretty happy actually with that running position, but it's going to be hard to hang on here. As you can see, Chase Elliott gets clear of me on the outside, but we had, a mirror full of Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. I feel like I've been racing around Kevin Harvick for the majority of this race, no matter what position I'm in. He started to the back with us, so it makes sense, and he goes by. Kyle Larson back to the lead of this race. I think Larson's led the most laps of anybody without actually winning a stage or anything now as he continues out in front. I talked about Martin Truex Jr. Truex so strong here today. He's won both stages so far, so I think he's the clear favorite to win this race, but has he maybe fallen off a little bit here in stage 3 as we are continuing to be in this battle with this 4 and the 9. I couldn't get away from these two. I couldn't pass them both, and they couldn't get away from me, so we just continue to kind of battle with this 4 and 9 of Elliott and Harvick for only 14th, 15th, and 16th place 20 laps ago, and same situation, still, tussling here on the inside. Keselowski as well into the mix there. On my right rear quarter panel, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. is around on the exit of turn 2. He's going to get hit by the 24 of Byron. Is going to go up and over there, over Daniel Suarez. There's a caution is going to fly, and I think I jinxed him. I said anytime he's in the mix for a win, something goes wrong. And it went wrong for the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Everybody pitted for 4 tires again and feel. We gained 1 spot in the pit lane. I am so sorry, Martin Truex Jr. fans, as it's going to be a slow restart for myself and others behind. One big note, Daniel Suarez, who we saw the smoke flying out from earlier, he's on the lead lap actually after all of this. He came back on track literally about a lap after that happened when he got into the pits, and he's back on the lead lap fighting for, who knows, maybe even a top 10, top 15. But here we are, about 15 to go in this race. Look at that up there, the rookie stripes. Sheldon Creed in his NASCAR Cup Series debut fighting for a top 5 result, and his teammate of Tyler Reddick in a potentially must-win scenario to make it into the playoffs following his injury. Not 100% a must-win, but he's having a nice top 10 run here today as well. 12 laps to go. Unfortunately, I couldn't hang with those guys in front of me. And Harvick, Bowman, Elliott, they had all run me down, and I was just swarmed by them. Joey Logano to the lead of this race. I swear, if Joey Logano, of all people, wins this race after just barely being in the mix all day long. He did lead a couple laps earlier, but here he is about to win this race potentially with 11 laps remaining here from Atlanta. Harvick clear. Bowman now to the outside. We had a tussle with Harvick and Elliott for multiple laps earlier, but this time it was looking like it was going to be me in the 48 there of Alex Bowman, but he gets clear down into turn 1. But you can see I have the speed to hang with him. This is the most speed we've had all day. Running P14, I was pretty happy with that, and you're going to see myself dive one up the inside down into turn 3, and now we have some radio from Bubba Wallace.
Are you sure we don't have enough fuel to make it?
We get a little bit of a snippet. It sounds like the 23, our teammate, is low on fuel and not going to make it to the end of this race. And it's not just Bubba Wallace. There's other drivers in this field, in front of us, behind us, that apparently are not going to make it to the end of this race. We're about to find out because we're coming to 2 laps to go, and you see it immediately. Cars coming into the pits. That's Kyle Busch, Cindric as well, Kyle Larson, who's been in front of a lot of this race, into the pits. And now we're up to P11. Suarez is right behind me as we head down into turn 3, approaching the white flag. Logano has pitted, and several others are pitting. Bowman, Harvick, you name it, they're coming. We're going to be up into the top 5, coming to the white flag. But look who's leading. It's worst case scenario. That's a new winner, AJ Allmendinger. If he holds on, is he going to run out? That's the question. Suarez up to 5th. What a rebound from him. He blew an engine in this race, and he's about to finish in the top 5 and nearly beat me. But worst case scenario, our boss man of Denny Hamlin in 2nd, Sheldon Creed in his debut 3rd, but AJ Allmendinger out of turn 4 is going to head down the front straightaway. He will win here in Atlanta for the 2nd time in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Absolutely fantastic for him. Absolutely terrible for us. I cannot stand the fact that he just won this race, and fuel mileage unexpectedly kicks in. We were about 4 laps of fuel to the good, 4 laps to the good going to the end of that race. So I was a bit confused why other drivers had to come into the pits. I mean, obviously not everybody did, but we went from complaining about a Joey Logano win to really wishing that Joey Logano won this race right about now. Only 3 drivers are left on points because of AJ Allmendinger winning. It's not the end of the world. We came into this race 16 points below the cut line. We exit 18 points below because Kurt Busch had a really rough day, especially right at the end of that race. So he's now behind us. But look at this. It's Harvick, Briscoe, Martin Truex Jr., who would be way above that cut line if he didn't have so many issues as well. Him, Suarez, the 2 drivers that have had so many issues that I think would be in 2 completely different point scenarios right now. I think Truex would have already won his way in if it wasn't for some of those mechanical failures. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. 3 drivers on points, and we still have 7 races until the end of the regular season. It's going to get close. We'll go to New Hampshire. In the next one, we'll take off here from Atlanta and see what happens. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, everybody.